Although a civil war, many historians consider the Spanish Civil War to be a dry run for the Second World War. The war started on the 17th of July 1936, when a large portion of the Spanish military attempted a coup against the left-wing Popular Front government of the Second Spanish Republic. Once it became clear that Spain was in civil war, the two sides established fronts that looked like this. The military who revolted was joined by the right-wing elements of the Spanish people, by groups such as the Phalangists, known as the Blue Shirts and were the Spanish Fascist Party, monarchists such as Alfonsists who wanted the restoration of the Alphonsine monarchy, and the Carlists who wished to see the new traditional Catholic monarchy under the rival Bourbon line of Don Carlos. The Nationalists, as they became known, fought against the left-wing Republicans, who were a coalition of a variety of left-wing factions, such as loyalist military units, for example a large portion of the Spanish Navy who remained loyal to the Republican government, communists and socialists, and anarchists, who had their main power base in the province of Catalonia. At the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War in July 1936, the international community reacted in a variety of different ways, from Britain and France's attempt to encourage non-intervention, to the direct intervention of the Axis and USSR. The support for the nationalists came in many forms, but mainly from Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy, although other states and entities did support the nationalist cause. The first major support provided to the nationalists by Germany came in the form of the airlift of the Army of Africa from Spanish Morocco to the mainland. In Anthony Beevor's book, The Battle for Spain, he records the following message sent by the nationalists to Germany. It read, "General Franco and Lieutenant Colonel Beevor send greetings to their friend, the Honorable General Kuental. Inform him of the new nationalist Spanish government and request he send 10 troop transport planes with maximum seating capacity through private German firms. Transfer by air with German crews to any airfield in Spanish Morocco. The contract will be signed afterwards. Very urgent, on the word of General Franco of Spain." Nazi Germany certainly obliged and sent Junkers 52 transport planes to aid the nationalists in their airlift. In fact, Hitler was later quoted saying that Franco should build a monument to the plane because it was so vital in his victory. In addition to their aid in the airlift, Germany sent their pocket battleships, the Deutschland and Admiral Speer, to screen nationalist convoys that ferried heavy weapons and supplies, such as tanks and artillery, not suitable for the airlift. In addition to this aid, Germany founded the Condor Legion, a land and air volunteer military force that aided the nationalists in several victories and battles. The most infamous and controversial act performed by the Condor Legion was the bombing of the town of Guernica in 1937, which, when the dust had settled, resulted in 200 to 300 civilian deaths. Many consider it as the first act of terror bombing in modern warfare. Several historians claim that it was in Spain that Hitler's Germany perfected the Blitzkrieg. But this is likely untrue, as a lot of the fighting during the Civil War took place in mountainous and hilly regions that were not suitable for the mobile form of warfare, such as Blitzkrieg. Next to Germany, Mussolini's Fascist Italy was another big supporter of the Spanish nationalists, if not a bigger one. The Spanish nationalists were made up in large part by fascists who shared more in common with Italian fascism than German Nazism, and as a result it was only natural that the two fascist states complement each other and that Mussolini send aid to Franco. Even under fascist rule, Italy remained a deeply Catholic state like Spain, and so Mussolini sending aid to the nationalists gained him much support and respect in the Catholic community in both nations. The Italian dictator sent the Corpo Truppe Volontarie, or Corps of Volunteer Troops. This Italian expeditionary force consisted of approximately 70,000 to 75,000 land, air and naval forces, sent from Italy, and took part in many nationalist battles and victories. It is estimated by historians that about 6,000 Italians died fighting in the Spanish Civil War. In addition to the direct aid, Italy also provided massive material aid, some of which included 1 cruiser, 4 destroyers and 2 submarines, 763 aircraft of varying types, 1,801 artillery pieces, 157 tanks, mainly the CV-33 tankette, and 240,747 rifles to the nationalists. In the neighbouring country of Portugal, the Salazar regime, although officially neutral, greatly favoured a nationalist victory, as the Republic had harboured several dissidents of the Salazar regime. They proved a vital supporter of nationalist logistics, to such an extent that the nationalists referred to the city of Lisbon as the Port of Castile, due to the majority of German and Italian material aid travelling through Lisbon to reach the front. And also, they allowed nationalists to be able to export their export and gain foreign currency through Lisbon. After the establishment of the Second Spanish Republic, the Catholic Church and clergy in Spain found their influence and power greatly diminished as the state became more and more secular. As a result of this, it led to deeply Catholic Spaniards to turn to the right wing and traditionalists. During the Civil War, the Catholic Church in Spain openly sided with the nationalists, with the Vatican openly allowing the clergy in Spain to describe the nationalist cause as a crusade against godless atheists. In the early stages of the war, the Republicans struggled with gaining international support due to the Red Terror and the way that foreign journalists portrayed the events in foreign newspapers. However, some nations did support and sympathize with the Republican cause. Stalin's USSR was by far the biggest supporter the Republicans had during the Civil War. At the time the Civil War erupted, the USSR was following a foreign policy of collective security against the rising threat of Nazi Germany in Europe. In the course of Soviet intervention in the Civil War, they sent more than 2,000 active military personnel, who were mainly tank crews and pilots, to fight for the Republicans. In addition to this, according to an official Soviet source, over 2,000 citizens left and fought in Spain, many of whom were awarded the title of Hero of the Soviet Union. Some of the material aid sent to the Republicans consisted of 242 aircraft, 703 artillery pieces, 703 tanks, mainly T-26 light tanks, 50,000 rifles, 1,316 trucks, and many more. The USSR was also instrumental in organizing the international brigades, which were brigades made up of foreign communist volunteers from across the world and supported by the USSR and Comintern, the Communist Internationale. The Republic found an unexpected ally and supporter in the form of Mexico. Their president viewed the Republican struggle as akin to the Mexican Revolution, although it must be noted that the majority of the Mexican population favored a nationalist victory, and so Mexico openly supported the Republican cause. However, Mexican material aid was very limited. Nevertheless, it was a great morale booster for the Republicans, as the rest of South America had pretty much all held nationalist sympathies, and some had even openly declared their hope for a nationalist victory. While many in the international community chose to intervene in one way or another in the Spanish Civil War, some countries chose a strict policy of neutrality and non-intervention. With the eruption of civil war in Spain, the British government immediately declared their official neutrality in the conflict. However, internally, Britain was more divided upon this issue. On one hand, the deeply anti-communist British establishment favoured a nationalist victory, with the Foreign Minister Anthony Eden stating that his government preferred a rebel victory to a Republican victory. While on the left wing, the Popular Front parties favoured supporting the Republicans openly. In France, French Premier Léon Blum was sympathetic to the Republicans and favoured a Republican victory. He was afraid, however, that if his government supported the Republicans, then the French right wing and military would rise against his government, as had happened in Spain. This resulted in France also officially declaring its neutrality. However, it must be mentioned that Léon Blum did manage covertly to send French planes and aid to the Republicans. As both countries had declared neutrality and a policy of non-intervention in the Civil War, they agreed to establish an arms embargo on Spain. This was agreed with Italy and Germany. However, Germany and Italy soon forsook this non-intervention in favour of openly supporting Franco's nationalists, essentially rendering the arms embargo useless. Britain and France, however, continued to enforce the embargo upon their own nations. Across the Atlantic in the United States, the US Secretary of State Cordell Hull acted as soon as he heard about the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War. He enacted and enforced the US's neutrality laws and so banned the export of arms to either side in the Civil War. Despite the foreign aid received by the Republicans from the USSR and other sympathetic states, it was clear by 1938 that the war was lost. The international intervention of Germany, Italy and Portugal and other sympathetic states allowed the nationalists to ensure their victory in the Civil War by August 1939, 1 month before the outbreak of the Second World War. Today in Spain, the Civil War has become notable for the passion and political division it inspired, and for the many atrocities that occurred on both sides. It led to 40 years of authoritarian rule under Francisco Franco, with democracy in Spain as it is known now only being re-established in Spain following the Generalissimo's death in 1975. If you enjoyed this video, then please do hit that like button and share it with friends. If you want to see more content from me, then please do consider subscribing. If there's a topic you want to see me cover, then let me know down in the comment section below. You can also join the History of Wolves Discord channel. It will be in the comment section as well as the description. I'll see you in the next video. This has been Adam, History of Wolves.